Good morning and welcome to Bolton. I'm Joyce Stilley, the Administrative Officer for the Town of Bolton, and this is a live show done the first and the third Tuesdays of each month from 10:30 to 11 a.m. The show is rebroadcast on the second and fourth Tuesdays at the same time period. The show is a continuing effort to promote open communications within the community. So if you have an upcoming event, an organization you would like to get some PR out about, or just have questions as to how town government operates, please contact me at the town hall and we will try to get a show on the air that covers that topic. Today we're going to talk a little bit about where I'm hosted on every other week basis. I have with me from Community Voice Channel, Melanie Merkel, who's a Community Outreach and Training Coordinator, and Nick Levine, who's Executive Director for CVC.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Or is
Good
it
morning.
reverse?
Yeah.
You're welcoming me.
Yes.
So once a year, I at least try to do a show on CVC because I don't think people understand what Community Voice Channel is, what opportunities it provides on both sides, for you as a viewer and for you as a person in one of the communities. So first, let's talk, what is CVC?
CVC is a nonprofit public access station where people who live within our 7 towns or our cable region can come in, learn how to use the equipment, and then use that equipment at their leisure once they check it out. So they can make their own talk show in the studio or maybe make their own short film out in the field by borrowing a camera.
And you talked about 7 towns. This is a test.
That's it. Andover,
7 towns.
Andover, Bolton, Ellington, Hebron, Marlborough, Tolland, Vernon, and
That's it.
that's it.
And
If
we
you
serve
don't use your
Comcast.
fingers, you get lost.
That's it.
We do. We serve the 7 Comcast towns. So if you have Comcast, you are entitled to come here. Basically what it is you come here, you learn how to use the equipment. We teach you how to use it so that you feel comfortable with it, so that you can take it out into the field. Because not everyone can afford really expensive video cameras, especially nowadays. So, we try to offer them to you so that you come, you learn how to use it, and then you can go out into the field and make anything you want. If you wanted to film a talk show in your living room, if you wanted to film a parade, a local community event, anything like that, of course we'll accept, because that's the beauty of public access, is that we don't turn any programming away. We want programming. So the equipment is free to you in return for us for a show. So whatever you use the equipment for, that's basically what we want to air.
Yes.
What show that you're making. Even if you come and you just need a microphone, whatever you're using that microphone for, we want that show.
Yes, that's the general deal. You get to borrow the equipment and we get a show.
And when you talk about that, you certainly have some regulars all the time as well.
Yes.
No?
We have a few regulars. You, Kathy Olstein, and not all the shows are always made in the studio. We have some regulars that are, let's say, they send us in the show. So, but yeah, we have a lot of regulars. Some people eventually, have to move on, and then we don't have them anymore. But a lot of people do continue their shows once they really get into the swing of things and they realize that they like it.
And with that, though, certainly even boards and commissions, that several of the towns, you'll have their regular meetings on as well.
Yes.
And that's set up either through volunteers. We had a great volunteer for Eons, Bert Flynn, who unfortunately had to step down, but you have that throughout the towns as well, so people can keep track of what's going on in their government.
Yes. So basically, so some of the towns go live, and that's because they have a return line back when people were asked if they could get a return line, and it was given to them for free. And some towns tape, much like Bolton tapes and Hebron
Yes.
tapes, and then we get those and we re-air them. And really what's good about that is that not everybody can go to town meetings.
Right.
And certainly the main news networks, they're not going to show town meetings. So really your only way of seeing a town meeting that you didn't actually go to is on our channel. And it's a great way for people in the community to actually know what's going on in their town. So it has a lot of value.
And you talked about on one of your channels. Perhaps you could talk a little bit about, you do have more than one channel.
That's right. So a lot of people think that we only have one channel, the public channel, or whichever one they seem to happen upon and think that's the only one. But we have government, education, and public. Public is where you basically put everything that somebody would make. So whether it's a short film, a talk show, a parade, that's all going to really go on public. Education has to do with if a library in the town made it, or if the school made it. Like we had a show called Principal Point, and the principal really wanted a show that highlighted a lot of the things that happen in their school. So that's what education is for. Government is strictly for government meetings. Now, the government could, a local town could go beyond just doing meetings and maybe make a show that they feel is needed. Like they want something like, hey, we need people to come by and plow or something. Like we need that. You could make a little thing on that, and we would show it on the education, the government channel. But mostly government shows are meetings that are uncut, because we're not allowed to start chopping them up.
Right.
The only cuts that will happen occasionally is when a tape ends and a new tape begins, in which case we gotta fade them together, and that's not us trying to remove something. It just so happens that tapes only hold 60 minutes. And what more can we do?
Sometimes our meetings go longer than that.
Sometimes they go a lot longer than that. So that's really what government, education, and public really are for.
And how did CVC come into existence? What's the background of Community Voice Channel? Why?
Okay, so it goes back a little bit further. So you go to about 1984, and that's the Government Cable Act, and that said that because these companies are essentially given a monopoly on little regions, that they have to support public programming, and they must have a public access station, a way for people to have access to equipment, and a way for people to have a way to show the things that they filmed. Now, different cable providers may choose to have that in-house. So like you would literally go to the place where all, like, let's say the Comcast trucks are. But a lot of them, they spin it off. They give out the right to a nonprofit to actually run it. And that's what we did as a completely different company name. I don't even remember what it was called because I wasn't here. But in 1991, it was, I believe, called the Eastern Public Cable Access. And it got renamed, I think, in around 1996 to Community Voice Channel. And we were in the Comcast building.
Right.
And around 2000, Bolton said that we could rent this area, which is the old firehouse.
Correct.
And so about 2000, 2001, this place got all renovated down to the studs and turned into a studio. So it has a long history.
Yes, it does. And you talked a little bit about, that it is the cable, but you're not totally funded. Let's talk about your funding source, because I know you do some fundraisers and have some things coming up too.
Okay, so I'll talk, and I'll let Melanie talk a little bit. So I'm going to just say, so a part of your cable bill does go to us per subscriber. And that money is dished out to us quarterly, and that's how the main funding kind of happens. It's enough to keep operations going and to occasionally get some new little things, but it's not enough to fully, let's say, oh, we need a new studio, buy a new studio. It's not that much money. So we have been coming up with ways to generate some new revenue, and I will send it to Melanie to explain what some of those ideas really are.
Yeah, and basically we are trying to go HD. That is obviously the way of the world now.
Yes.
is HD. So Comcast won't give us an HD feed, a channel, until all of our equipment goes HD. So we're starting a fundraiser to raise money to turn our studio HD, because we have been slowly introducing HD field cameras, so people can learn the HD camera in the field, but for the studio, it's so much more to make it HD. So we're doing fundraisers, like for instance, we have a spring craft fair coming up in May 20th. That's going to be held here. We have like over 20 vendors that have registered to sign up, so they'll be here. So we're charging like little vendor fees, and then of course if the vendor wants to make a donation to us. We also have an Easter event coming up, which is actually this weekend, but we do an Easter, we always do a Meet the Easter Bunny for spring, and then we do Meet Santa and Mrs. Claus in the winter time as well. We go out to farmers markets, and of course we always have a donation jar on our table, so if you want to donate to your local public access, of course, we'll take the donation. That is just going to go right to raise money to go for HD. We also, of course, do the VHS transfer. Right now, that is probably one of our biggest things of bringing money into the station right now, is that you can bring your old home movies, whether it be on VHS, mini DV, anything like that, and we can import it for you and then transfer it over to a DVD.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of, we're trying to really get people, because of course VHS tapes start to deteriorate where you get the lines going across it. So the earlier to get that in transferred, the better.
But some of us look better with the lines across us.
Maybe.
But you also have coming up a gala.
We
Yes.
do, that's right. It's November 11th. We're going to be doing at the Ellington Ridge Country Club, and it is for a dinner, so it's going to be a huge dinner with wine tastings and beer tastings, spirit tastings. We also have a nonprofit that's coming in. It's called Sarah Speaks Up. She helps domestic violence victims have a voice, so she's going to be our guest speaker. And yeah, it's going to be a really nice event. We're going to have a silent auction. We're going to have a photo booth there to take pictures. It's going to be a really fun night, and we're going to be charging $75 for one ticket and $120. How much?
$125.
$125 for two.
Yeah.
So you get a little deal if you bring somebody with you.
And of course, we're looking for sponsors for this event. So, like she mentioned, the silent auction. And if you would like to help us out, you could sponsor a
basket
a basket or something that can be auctioned off, or you could just make a donation and be a sponsor. But if you were, let's say, since what we're doing is trying to do a beer and wine spirits tasting, let's say that you're a local company that makes one of those. It would be great if we got like a basket or something of those items, and then we would put them in the silent auction, and you would be a sponsor of the event.
Or
Excellent.
a place that wants to have their items sampled too, because we're going to be doing sampling. So
Excellent. And people, I'm sure that they're going to be putting up your address on the bottom of the screen so that people know how to contact you too. But you even do some live things besides my show. I know that a couple shows ago you did a live streaming at the same time.
Oh yeah, okay. So occasionally we try to use the new things that are out there for social media, and that was us trying out the Facebook Live to
Yes.
kind of show behind the scenes, and that was interesting. I don't know how many people watched it, but what's nice about that is that after it was live, it automatically stayed on the Facebook page, and you could view it at your leisure. But it's always in order to get people to understand who we are or just to see us, we like to use those social media tools like Facebook to try and get people to see our different events and maybe even just like a show that's going to air soon.
And one of the things, you know, we've talked about training people coming in, but perhaps you can go into the training a little bit more as to, I know you have a series of training sessions for different purposes and different things and times.
Yeah, we do. First, we have a studio workshop, which is, of course, learning the studio. There's 6 positions that you would learn, and that's a 4-day class. So it's 4 days at 2 hours a session. And then basically after that, you become a certified studio producer or a crew member, so you can help out other producers with shows. So we teach you how to do camera, you learn how to direct, you learn how to do floor manager, graphics, audio, and then of course control board, switching the cameras. So that's 4 days. We do like mock interviews where we do a rotation that everybody gets to try out all the positions. And then the final day, we actually do a final production where it will air on Community Voice Channel. Then there's also our field workshop, which is a 3-day class, also 2 hours a session. And in that class, you learn how to film on location, but you learn like more in depth of how to film. So you learn like camera angles, you learn camera language. Basically, my goal in that workshop is for you to go home and almost watch TV and movies differently, where you almost are like studying it yourself, you know? And then of course in that workshop you learn editing, because it's a lot harder to film on location and be done with it. You know, you have to bring it in here and learn how to edit it all together to make a complete whole story. In studio, you learn how to do a production from start to finish, like for instance we're doing today. We also just do editing workshops, so if you like already have footage that you used but you want to do editing, we could teach you that. If you wanted to do interviewing, I could sit down with you and talk about interviewing skills. And yeah.
So when do you have any of these training sessions coming up?
So the field workshops are taught at your convenience, your leisure, and then so whenever you're available, we try to set that up. And then the studio workshops I schedule like every other month. So I'm actually currently have one right now, and then the next one will be in May. It's May 10th, 11th, 17th, and 18th from 5:30 to 7:30 at night.
And you can't possibly have enough volunteers to fill all the different things that even towns ask you, do you have somebody who can tape our meeting, or things like that, or people that want to do a show like I do. You can't possibly have enough people. That we're
always
an
looking for
ongoing
more.
Desire for more.
Well, especially because we cover so many towns that it's such a wide area that, you know, if we're looking for somebody to film an event in Hebron, odds are I'm probably not going to get a volunteer from Ellington to film it, you know? So it's like to try to get a lot of people from different towns so that I have a certain group that I contact for Hebron and Marlboro events. You know, I have a certain group that I contact for like Vernon and Ellington events. So of course, the more, the merrier, you know?
Well, and there's opportunities galore. This is such a wonderful studio if people would just take advantage of what's here.
Especially the younger kids, you know, we're looking for high school kids. You know, we accept anyone over the age of 13. So if you're like an inspiring filmmaker and this is something that you want to go to college for, like here's a great place to start, because you're building a portfolio that you could already go to college and say, look what I've already done, you know, because of course some high schools have video clubs and stuff like that, but here you really have the opportunity to grow and express yourself as an individual, rather than, you know, being in video club, they kind of say like, okay, we're just gonna film, you know, the faculty and the kids play basketball, you know, and it's not really where you can express your views, you know, and ideas and everything.
You don't get to edit the basketball game.
No, and that either. So that's why it's nice to come here.
One of the other things, we should talk a little bit about the way that you're organized, who runs it, which you do, but you also have a board that,
Yeah, okay. So we do have a board of directors, and it can be anyone living in the towns. And so basically, they meet once a month, and we try to, figure out what we need to change, how we other brainstorm ways of getting our name out there. So really, all aspects of really the direction of the place and making sure that the place is, of course, remains financially stable. So the board has a big responsibility in that, and we're always willing to meet with people who would like the idea of joining the board. We would just ask that you would be involved and take the classes and help out. So although the board only meets once a month, we'd like to see you a lot more if you were thinking about if you're watching this and you're thinking about maybe joining the board.
and that's Bolton's person is actually behind one of the
Yes.
cameras today.
And we
Which
have
we appreciate.
Hebron over there, and we have 2 Ellingtons in the control room.
So
We're looking for someone to represent Tolland and Marlborough are the 2 towns that we don't have anybody
Yeah.
representing right now. So if anyone's interested, definitely
it would be great.
Contact us.
Contact us, and you can meet with the board.
And volunteering is a big part of life. It really is. And this is something that you could volunteer for. You have this to work in, so it opens up other opportunities for you too. And you learn, I gotta think that people that on your board learn a tremendous amount because of just even the types of shows you have, learning about different things that are going on, because you have, I know in the studio, you don't only show our town meetings, but you have state representatives and legislatures here.
Yep.
And, people
can meet a
talking
lot of
about
people.
everything under the sun, and what an opportunity that is.
Yeah, and as for volunteering or even just this board, when you think about volunteering and places you could go to, or maybe places that you could join a board and be a volunteer that way, this is very unique. If you were to think of all the places that you could volunteer at, this is one of the very unique ones. There's a lot of technology involved and things that you generally don't really get to see and touch and learn about. Usually volunteering, is less technologically filled.
And we have about 5 minutes left. What would you like to share with people that they may not know about Community Voice Channel or your programming or?
I would like to mention that one of our shows won awards. We just started it last year. It was Connecticut Wineries. We did
Yeah.
2 wineries, and we won awards for overall directing, and then awards for cinematography in a documentary and overall documentary series, not movie, series. So that was exciting to win that this year. Anything
Congratulations.
Oh,
That's-
thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great show. So Nick directed it, so good job. I mean, my biggest thing that I want to let people know is, even though if you don't live within our towns, like even people who work, like for instance,
Correct.
Somebody who works at the town hall, they might live in maybe a different town that we don't serve, but because you say work there, you could then do shows for that, or even like a library. Of course, that's a state, entity, so you can't, even if you don't live there, you work there. So if you wanted to film an event going on at the library, or if you wanted me to come and teach a class at the library, of course, give me a call, or even if you want to get involved and film things that are going on there, a senior center. You have all these events that go on at the senior center that maybe a member couldn't attend, but they wanted to see it. So like somebody who's, say, the program director, you could learn how to use our equipment, and then you're already there anyways, so why not film it? And then your members could see it if they didn't get to be there, or even the people that were there get to see themselves on camera, because ultimately with public access, that's what you want to see. You want to turn on the TV and see people that you know. That's that's the fun part about it.
And so upcoming events, Easter Bunny?
Yeah, Easter Bunny, Saturday, April 8th, 1 to 3 here at CVC. We're doing May 20th, Spring Craft Fair, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. here also. And then also our gala too on November 11th.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining me today, or me joining you today.
Yes,
I'm not
thank
sure
you.
which way, but you know, I always take the opportunity to thank Community Voice Channel for its continued support. I'm very sincere in that. And really, this is an opportunity for everybody on both sides. Certainly, if you want to learn more, contact Community Voice Channel. They'll be more than happy to open the doors for you. In closing, just very quickly, Board of Finance continues their deliberations this evening. Budget referendum date has been postponed till May 23rd. We had one set earlier, but with everything going on at the governmental level, decided to postpone it a little bit later. And with that, again, thank you to Community Voice Channel for its continued support, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.